Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to this video, which is going to share with you 3 things I think you should know about tonight's super powerful and pivotal new moon and solar eclipse happening on September 21st, 2025. What I'm going to do in this video is share with you 3 of the most prominent themes that you may be experiencing at this time. Theme number 1, and you're not going to even believe me when I say it, but just hear me out, is major upgrade, a major life upgrade, a major upgrade to your overall moment-to-moment, day-to-day experience of life. An opportunity to experience higher levels of abundance, higher levels of freedom, deeper experiences of joy, satisfaction, gratitude, love, all the things that fill us up as human beings are being given to us by ourselves, essentially. And it's the new moon and eclipse right now that's helped stripping away the parts of you that are blocking you from what is already your divine inheritance. And I know when I said big upgrade, you're probably thinking, no, bro. My life there are problems in my life. I'm having problems. I'm not dealing very well with the unexpected problems, the imposed changes going on in my life. It's chaotic. I don't know where I'm heading. I don't know where I'm going to be a month from now, a year from now. Things in your life might feel unstable, like you're on rocky waters right now. And you might right now be dealing with it in a very poor way. Old habits, old patterns, old tendencies, old ineffective ways of coping are all there at the surface, parallel to your situation, which is stressing you out. And you might be hearing this update, irritated, thinking, I'm experiencing the exact opposite of everything this dude's saying. But what I found, my friend, is that a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes cosmically, through the astrology, through our own individual journey of awakening, we come to these periods of realignment, soul realignment. And your soul's idea of the good life oftentimes is a far cry from what your ego thinks it needs and wants to have its version of a good life. And that oftentimes is what gets disrupted. For a time, we're allowed to play these games, these ego games, and go off on tangents and involve ourselves with things that ultimately don't matter, ultimately don't fulfill us. And then when times like this, when the storm clouds roll in, or the powerful, in full moon, new moon, lunar eclipse, solar eclipse energy, we become kind of bombarded with reality, a dose of reality. And the things that are not meant to be in our lives start to kind of fall away pretty quickly. But the difficulty is, at the time of the falling away, we still think we want them. We don't know yet that we don't really need them, nor do we want them. So there's a lot of resistance when these upgrades take place. There's a lot of inner turmoil. It's a inner and outer transformation. Very similar if you guys are into tarot. Let's see if I can find it real quick. This is not a traditional tarot deck, it's the Osho deck. But anyway, there's the Thunderbolt card, and it basically represents the Tower card. And if you look at that card, it looks bad. It's like, I don't want this card. There's lightning bolts, people flying off freaking buildings, and fire. Oh, joy. Next, can I get the Abundance card, please? Can I get the Judgment card? No. The Thunderbolt card is that. And it's kind of like what eclipses tend to represent. Now, it's actually a very high-level card, this Thunderbolt card. It's like one of the upper major arcana cards, and it's actually very close to getting what you want, evolving spiritually, abundance, freedom, health, vitality, thriving, but at a higher frequency, with higher frequency thoughts, higher frequency feelings, deeper divine connectedness, and therefore sometimes a very different way of going about life. Very different choices you will make after the shaking, after the Thunderbolt card, because you'll start to finally see what really matters to your soul. And when you do that, you realize that what you've been striving for, that always seemed far away, has always been there. Back in 2016, I had this dawning of awareness that I had a different purpose, a reason for being here that I didn't know what it was at the time. And I went through this exact phase where everything kind of collapsed. My life, my situation, my jobs, my identity, everything was literally just like falling away, crumbling before my very eyes. And the result of that was me moving my family from like a nice middle class situation. We had a nice house. We had leased nice new cars we drove. My daughter went to a nice Waldorf private school. We weren't like rich, but we were doing very well. And on paper, we had the good life. I'm married. We have children. We have nice community. And all of a sudden, and my jobs were even things I enjoyed doing. I was a fitness trainer. I grew marijuana. These were things I enjoyed. And almost simultaneously, my daughter's school shut down abruptly. I started having problems at my gym to the point where I had to close it down. My grow operation became infested with root aphids, and I had to shut that down. We couldn't afford to live in the house. We rolled in, I remember, to a dealership, and we took our 2 cars, and we're like, can we turn these 2 nice cars in and buy like your cheapest car you have on the lot? And they didn't let us do it, obviously, but like we literally reduced ourselves. We sold our home. We moved into a travel trailer, and we're virtually homeless. We lived in a travel trailer, me, my wife, and my 3 children. And you know what? That was not a downgrade. That was an upgrade. That was an upgrade. And I look back at those times with a deep gratitude and nostalgia. That was one of the best times of my life. You know what we'd do every night, my family and I? We'd gather around this little cheap little like plastic table that's made to look like granite, but it's really just made out of plastic in the RV. And we would eat, and we would play games. We'd play rummy. We'd play chess. Believe it or not, my kids are smart. They all play chess. And we would argue because we're all extremely competitive. And it was that my dog would be there. And during those dinners, playing games with my family, I was as full as I could ever have dreamed of. Full of all the important things of life. I had love, I had competition, I had joy, there was laughter. And in those moments, those experiences, all my problems were not in my consciousness. And I had a lot of them. And though I downgraded my home, I was free. I was making YouTube videos. I just began coaching people from all over the world. And even though I wasn't really making much money yet, I didn't need as much money because we lived in a freaking travel trailer, a KOA campground, which was also dope because they had a pool and they had, the KOA's amenities were like our amenities. The point of me saying that is that there was a disruption to my life that was immediately resisted wholeheartedly on all levels. All the things that were like crumbling before my eyes, I clung to with dear life, thinking I needed them. And all along, the universe or God or the astrology, I don't know what it is, there's a force, and it was guiding me into something that was very different. It took some getting used to, but in the end, I was more free, I was more happy, I had more time with my family, I was more abundant, I was more spiritually aware, and I was stronger. Because these periods, when these cards shake you, you don't collapse and die. You don't just lay there. You get up and you climb that freaking tower again, and then you probably fall again. And in doing so, and not just giving up, you rise up. You become stronger. You become more aware of the power you've already possessed. And then from this foundation, you can also start to build. You don't have to live so minimalistically as I did. I didn't. But I found myself in that time. I found out how strong I am. I found out how guided I am. I found out that magic is real. Manifestation of things I really prefer is possible. And I would have never known that had I not gone through this gateway that very reminiscent of the exact energy right now. But if you can allow yourself to maybe shift your perspective, you can maybe come to see what you're going through right now through very different eyes. Number 2, it's a time of exponential expansion. It's kind of like the ego structure, our identity, our like false self is it's like a little dot. It's like a little nothing thing. And it's trying to do all this stuff. It's trying to assert itself in life and make all these things happen, to like preserve itself and to get all the things it's conditioned to crave and desire and things like that. And it doesn't like this shaking one bit. when the winds of change blow in, it's like the first to freak out. You know what? But eventually that ego gets tired, and then the true us gets to kind of emerge. And even though there's a lot of rubble around, maybe a big mess of your life still yet to be cleaned up, and there might still be yet some uncertainty, you might not know exactly where you're heading, but if you can find yourself, you start to just realize, not because I'm telling you, not because you read it, not because you bought it, but because it's there inside of you, you start to realize that, oh my goodness, there is like this eternal, divine flame that I am. And when you start to kind of connect with that, inspired thinking happens. Synchronicity accelerates. Opportunities come out of left field. And there can be this rapidness of expansion of all the things that your soul and even your ego wants. A lot of the ego preferences, they end up coming anyways as a little bonus or something. And I'm not talking just superficial stuff. I'm talking friendships. I'm talking soul family, everything. I was talking to a nice woman just yesterday on one of my coaching calls, and she was saying, Vic, I've been doing the work. I've been doing the inner work for a long time, man. I've even become aware of my purpose. I'm a healer. I've been helping people, but I still feel so alone. I still don't have anybody. She said she's either like the coach, she has like friends, and she ends up being like the mentor to them, which is fine, but not really an even exchange. Or most of the people she just doesn't really resonate with. Though she could go chill with them, it's like superficial. It's not what she's looking for. I was telling her like this it does happen. It does happen. You start to eventually attract not just the abundance, not just the cool stuff your mind wants, but like the relationships that will satisfy you, that relationships that you will recognize when you meet them. Soul family, soul brother, soul sister. They come in the form of your landlord, of your friends, of your coworker, the people that just sort of magnetically get attracted to your life because you finally uncovered the true self. And it doesn't stop there. It continues with all the other stuff you want, a life situation. You have guidance. A lot of people, they're kind of like, they look at the world and they see how unstable it is. When you're tapped into yourself, you don't have to worry about that because you'll be synchronistically led around through excitement and joy and passion. And you'll just so happen to find yourself avoiding the earthquake, avoiding the plane crash, avoiding whatever, because you're tapped in. You're rich as yourself. And what you'll find is that these messes, even though they seem kind of like overwhelming at the time, they can clean up rather quickly when you find yourself in alignment. You'll be surprised. I've been through many of these like transitions. You'll be surprised at how fast they can go when you finally find yourself and you start living authentically and you find your path and you go with it and you trust it. You go all in with it. These things can resolve a lot easier than it might seem at first glance. And then you start to build. You start to gain momentum as the real you in your friendships, in your health, in your finances, in your living situation, in your purpose, in your business, anything else you can imagine in that as well. Exponential expansion is the result. Number 3, awakening to what matters most, to your soul. During these times, you get to become crystal clear on who you are, what you're meant to do in the world, and most importantly, how to enjoy it. How to really feel joy. One of my favorite bands is The Doors, and Jim Morrison, the lead singer and sort of a poet. He was a very tapped in guy, big time. And his lyrics are very, in my opinion, very deep and very brilliant. And one of his lyrics is specialize in having fun, which sounds kind of like an invitation to go party, which he was also known for. He wasn't perfect. But to me, what he means is that, like, look at where we put our energy and our time and our focus. What if we specialized? What if we mastered the art of joy of love, of happiness, and things like that, how quickly would we realize what is essential for that? It's a lot less than we think. And it doesn't matter like what's happening. Do you want to know one of the most spiritual, deeply fulfilling encounters with the divine I've ever had in my entire life? It was when I stayed awake one night drawing a birthday card for my youngest son, Sebastian. It was late and I had stuff going on the next day, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to like spend some time on it. I'm not even like, I can draw okay. I'm not like great. I'm like decent at best. I used to draw a lot as a kid. But anyway, I spent like an hour or two just laying there in my bed, kind of like a notebook like this, just like drawing. Forgot even what it was. But as I was drawing, it was like because I had this activity I was doing to kind of like take my mind out of itself, and because I kind of knew what it was representing, just my love for my son, I felt bliss. I really did. It wasn't like I thought about bliss. I felt blissed out. I remember thinking to myself, like, this is kind of, I bet this is what enlightenment is like. This is like, because I couldn't imagine feeling any more connected to God or whatever than in this moment, doing this thing for someone I love so much. And you know what? Unfortunately, the reality is I don't have those moments all the time. I'm not saying I like that was it and I'm good. It came and went. And I'm sure the very next day I was probably busy with something else. But moments like that, they can kind of peek through. When the walls are tumbling and you're freaking out, sometimes you get shaken just enough, just so that you see that is there. And then that can become the goal. That can become the priority. And then we can organize our entire life around that. What is real, what is authentic, what is true, what is pure, what is love. And it sounds like some like idealist sort of like thing I'm saying, but no, this is in my honestly strong opinion, this is like what the potential is. And it's so tempting when the walls are shaking to get sort of sucked in even deeper to the surface of things. What's happening? How's it going to go? I got to do this, you know? And I get it. I kind of go back and forth myself, honestly. But as this new moon is starting to peak, I'm starting to feel more and more getting a pulse on like where it's taking me, like spiritually. And it's two moments like I just talked about. And I hope it is for you as well. And from there, our walls can come down. We can finally start working with each other and building a new type of life. If we're honest with ourselves, what do we think was going to happen? And I'm talking the grand scheme of things, this whole mass awakening. Did we think things were just going to stay the same? This entire worldly structure built from power dynamics, ego, greed, things like that. Not all of it, but a lot of it, obviously. And then we're a little microcosm of that as well, if we can take an honest look in the mirror. So it's like without these shakings, we'd avoid maybe the stress of them, but we would continue to sleepwalk through life, oblivious to what really is important and what's always been there under our noses. Thank you so much, my friend, for watching the video. My camera died, so I'm going to end here. But before I let you go, I want to let you know that if you still feel kind of stuck, if you still have not had your breakthrough, for one, it's in the mail, whether you do what I'm about to say or not. But something I can do to help you is offer you a breathwork ceremony that I've led myself for free. It's normally something I charge money for. It's something called somatic release breathwork. And it's like an hour-long ceremony, basically, that you just sort of listen to on your computer and go through it. But it's surprisingly powerful. It sometimes can be almost borderline psychedelic, but it's just your own breath. And it can help you release very deeply rooted, pent-up anxieties and emotions and just like pockets of unconsciousness, basically. And it can help you become really clear and sort of fall back into the light of your true self, so to speak. It's completely free, no obligation, but I'll leave a link down below. Check it out if you like. With that said, you all have an amazing day. Thank you for watching so much, and I'll see you soon. Peace.